One of the really cool things I like about Linux is that I really get to experiment quite a bit and try new and different things. Now, you people have been wonderful with your requests for getting different programs running using Wine, so I'm going to expand on my Wine series today on Spatry's Cup of Linux. Okay, let's begin. Alright, I've done a number of changes since my part 1 episode that I put together for you guys on this series. And because, you know, I wanted to save a little bit of drive space and that sort of thing. And I didn't really want to have, you know, two kind of identical wine bottles, one for applications and one for games, that really contain all the necessary dependencies and that sort of thing. So I decided that I would consolidate and just put everything in my developer bottle. So let's go ahead and begin. If you haven't seen part 1, you need to see that first before coming on to this part, because you're going to miss out on a lot of the details that are being covered here. Okay, first we need to go into Windows Applications. Okay, and that might be in your System folder. I put a copy of this in my Wine folder. Alright, now, you'll see here that I have the default Wine prefix. Nothing is in there. And then I have the developer Wine prefix. So I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to, for this particular exercise today, and the different types of programs I'm going to attempt to run, I am going to show you the configuration settings that I'm using. Now, something I wanted to point out, in my last episode we could not get launchers being placed on the desktop. This is kind of essential, especially if you're going to run good old games or GOG.com games that use DOSBox. You need to have that link because it has all the information that it passes over to VirtualBox so that the game can run properly. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that real quickly. First, let's go into Appearance, and it takes a moment for all of this to load in here. I have a lot of processes and everything running. You can see my CPU is burning hot in the upper right corner of the screen. Okay, I have chosen to open the Windows in a 1024 by 768 virtual desktop. You don't have to set it up this way if you don't want to. I want to have it set up this way just for the purpose of in case I run into a bottleneck or something like that, I can easily close the program rather than killing the X server, that sort of thing. I've run into problems with some full-screen games. If they freeze up, then you're kind of stuck. So by having it in a virtual desktop, at least I can be sure that I can close that if the program goes rogue on us. Okay, now, in Places, you want to select Folders. It'll take a moment for this to load up here. Now, when you install programs and that sort of thing, it's going to ask you where you want to put this. Now, obviously, it's going to put shortcuts and that sort of thing in the virtualized desktop or in your wine bottle configuration, but let's say you just want them on your regular desktop. This is where you select that. You select here, you go to Other, and then you point to the folder that you want to use. In this case, I chose Desktop and select Open. And then you press Apply. And what that will do now, anytime a program installs, it will put an icon on your physical desktop that you can pretty much move anywhere. It's a great time saver because I'm going to show you the code of what one of these icons looks like, and you can see that it can be quite confusing. So we'll go into that in a moment. Alright, and in Devices we want to make sure that Enable Hardware or Vertex Shader support enable hardware pixel shader support, font anti-aliasing, DirectX programs to capture the mouse, allow switching resolution, and auto-detected in the 3D memory size. Now, under install, I'm going to quickly go over all of the items just as a refresher, everything you need to have installed in your wine bottles to get everything working. Also, in part 1, see part 1 in the show notes, I have links to the PPAs you need to install in your system so that you can be sure that you have the latest wine and the latest vineyard for this exercise. Okay, first, you need Direct3D installed. I went ahead, even though we installed K-Lite Codec Pack in the last episode, I went ahead and installed DivX and Xvid. I installed GDI+, Microsoft Foundation classes. I installed .NET 1.1 and .NET 3. If you install .NET 3 and you make sure that you're on a Windows XP configuration, this will work. It will make sure that .NET 2 is also installed if you install .NET 1 and .NET 3. I went ahead and I installed Visual Basic 6, and then for older programs I went ahead and installed Visual Basic 2. Now, to install Visual Basic, you have to have a Windows license. If you do not have a Windows license, you will need to install Mono. Alright, and then I installed Visual C++ 2008, 2005, and 2003. I installed MS Visual C++ 6. I installed MS XML 6. I installed the OGG filters and codecs. I did not install NVIDIA Physics because I don't have an NVIDIA card or any games that requires it. And then, of course, all the fonts were installed as well. But use your discretion. If you know of a program that needs something, make sure that you install it. Also in the game CD, you can install any of its dependencies that are included in those game folders if the game doesn't install them automatically. Okay, and then of course, if we go into tools, we can open up the main drive. Okay, and here we are. Now, I have everything, all of my games and all of my Windows programs now installed in my developer prefix, and that is, Vineyard likes to store that in your home, local, share, wine prefixes folder. And you can see I just have developer there. Okay, moving right along. I'm going to go ahead and mount a game CD, and then we will start the installation process. I'll go ahead and minimize this. Okay, now for those of you who don't know, I am a big fan of goodoldgames.com. They have a sale on until January 2nd. And if you click View All Deals here, you're going to see they have a lot of games that you can download. And these are priced anywhere from $3 to $5. You can't beat it. And a lot of these games are timeless. Also, for those of you who want to run free space and use the source code project, you're going to need to go on this site and purchase this game, because you need some files from the installer before you can download the community add-ons and that sort of thing. And I also have this game running natively in Linux, and it's not part of this series because I don't have the Windows version installed. I actually have this running natively. And so you definitely want to get free space too if you want to do that, and eventually I'm going to do a tutorial on how to get the free space source code project running successfully on your Linux machine. But you can see there are a number of games. They have the Witcher, the Enhanced Edition. That one's kind of iffy because my system is kind of borderline for running that one, so I haven't purchased that one yet. The Witcher 2, I'm definitely not going to get that one because my system definitely doesn't meet the system requirements. But there are a number of really good games that you can get here, and they have so many deals here. I mean, So definitely pull out that debit card and pick up a few of these gems, because, you know, and the nice thing about it is they also have a forum where you can actually discuss with other members on here, and they'll tell you which games they've got running. They're called GOG mixes, and they'll tell you how you can get a lot of these games running natively within Linux. So it's a really good site to get good games that are a lot of fun to play and are not really heavy on resources. So I figured I'd do a quick plug for that. Alright, so let's go ahead and minimize this. Alright, and I'm installing Wing Commander 3, The Heart of the Tiger. Now, this is a timeless game here. Really good interactive fiction as well as epic space combat. And so I'm going to go ahead and install this in the developer configuration and press OK. And then the installer is going to start up here. It's going to open up a virtual desktop as I have defined. I'm going to go ahead and skip the file integrity check because I have already installed this game and I know that this is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I have read and of course I agree to the license agreement, and then we'll start the installation. When this installation is completed, you're going to see that it puts a icon on the desktop, and we're going to actually launch this game so that you can see it. Let me go ahead and pause the video while this progresses. Alright, our program has finished installing. I know this one runs in a little DOSBox window, but one thing that we can do is if we want this to run full screen, all we have to do is just change a simple configuration. And to do that, let's go ahead and go into our wine bottle directory. That's in Share, Wine Prefixes, Developer, and then in Drive C, Program Files, GOG.com, where are you? I got so much stuff installed in here. Wing Commander 3, and then in the DOSBox config, we can open this with Text Editor, and then we can change full screen to true. Where's that at? Just do a search for it. There it is. And we can select true, and then this will run the game in full screen for you, which is kind of nice. But this is actually going to play in a window, so for this test, I'm going to just go ahead and open up Wine Preferences here. Go into Appearance, and I'm going to uncheck Open the Window in a Virtual Desktop and apply it. Okay, very good. And I'll just minimize this because we'll come back to that later. And let's go ahead and run our program by double-clicking it. I hate it when it puts windows up there like that, but okay. And there you are. We have the game running. And I'm not going to actually go into full gameplay and that sort of thing. I've played a few levels on this, and I had a blast with it. I installed it and reinstalled it just for the benefit of showing you guys that you can get these working. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. I know that the game works great. If we open up our text editor here, you can say that this isn't just as simple, you know, as creating a common launcher, because these launchers that it creates on the desktop have quite a bit of information stored in them. So if you are the real geeky type here, this is the type of information that that is required to get this game up and running. And also, this is actually pointing to an ink file that actually has commands that it's sending to a wine configuration. So if you want to get these games running in DOSBox natively, you're going to have to dig into that a little bit deeper. It's a little bit complicated, and my focus is on keeping it simple. Yeah, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So I'm not going to go into all of those details, but I was able to get that one installed and working, which is great. Let's pick out another game. Alright, something I like to do, and I figured I'd show this to you real quick before loading another game into this, is what I like to do here is, in my home folder, I have a folder called Launchers, and this is where I actually store all these desktop icons that Wine puts up on the desktop. So what I go ahead and do is I'll just go ahead and drag it and drop it here, and then I can access that game at a later time. And something else that's quite interesting, actually, let's go ahead and go back into our Wine configuration here and select to open in a virtual desktop and apply it. I have another game that I have working natively, and that is Gabriel Knight 2, The Beast Within. Gosh, I remember when this game came out. I spent a whole weekend trying to figure it out, and I think it took me a whole week to figure it out without using any walkthroughs, hints, cheat codes, or anything like that. And I actually got this one running, and boy, let me tell you, this one is also a fun game. I'm still playing it right now. I think I'm on chapter 5 of the game. And probably one reason why I don't have so many videos up and running right now, because I've been taking a little bit of time playing games myself, and this pauses at a black screen on us for a few moments while the game is loading up. That is normal. I actually play this in full screen with the headphones on and really get to delve into the story and that sort of thing. And there we go. Here it is. It's loading up nicely, and definitely one of my favorite games of all time. One of those interactive fiction, much like the Phantasmagoria series, I enjoyed quite a bit too. And so, actually, if I were to restore a game, you can see I've got Gabriel Knight in quite a precarious position, where he's where he's climbing outside a building to snoop around on one of his suspects. So all in all, it is a fun game. Let me go ahead and quit this. But that is another game I was able to get, and that is another GOG gem that you can get on Good Old Games. So I figured I'd point that one out for you. Okay, let's see. Let's pick out something else. What? You know what? I haven't tried Icewind Dale running in Wine. I've got it running in a virtual machine. I play it every now and then, but let's see if we can do this in Wine, because I know a number of you RPG fans out there really like games like this. So let's go ahead and give this one a whirl and see what we can do with this. Alright, and it'll take a moment for the installer to load up. And this is another GOG installer, so I'm not going to take you through the entire process and that sort of thing. But we'll get this thing going here in a moment. Okay, I just finished the installation of Icewind Dale. And, yep, we're going to open that in a window. And move this down just a little bit. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and take my launcher and I'm going to put it in my launchers folder so that I can easily access it, because I hate having icons on my desktop. I don't know why. I'm just tidy like that, I suppose. Okay, and then let's go ahead and launch this and see what we get. Alright. Maybe the computer will blow up on me. Hey, 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 hey! So far, so good. Now remember, some of the playback is going to be a little bit choppy. I've got a lot of processes running and that sort of thing. So, that is to be expected. Okay, we'll select a single player game. Create a game. Full game. Okay, and now we have to go through the process of creating all these characters. And I suppose we have to go through each of these. Accept. Done. Alright, I just want to see if the game's going to actually work here. It looks like, so far, it looks like it's going to work for us. Okay, and done. I don't really want to see this. Okay. Well. Now I have the sound off here. I just want to explore around a little bit. Okay, cool. Well, it looks like this is going to work for us. Excellent. Alright. We can go ahead and exit this game. Alright, very good. Alright, so we got that one working. Let's try and install something else fun. Alright, this next game, I had trouble getting this running in Wine in the past, but since I upgraded Wine, I actually found I was actually able to run this game and get it working nicely. Now, one thing that you're going to need to do after you install this is to put in the no CD. You're going to need to go online and find the no CD for this, because and a lot of games that I try and get running under Wine, as a general rule of thumb, I will always try and find a no CD. This way I don't have to fumble with all my discs and that sort of thing, inserting them, you know, and that sort of thing, and I can just click and just play the game. I mean, I paid for the game. Why should I have to fumble with all these discs and everything? I don't share my games with people, you know, and make copies and distribute them illegally and that sort of thing. It's ridiculous what these software manufacturers and stuff are doing. But at any rate, so never download a game patch or crack unless you actually own a physical copy of the game. Please. The software developers do deserve to get paid for their work. Alright, so at any rate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to which folder was that I installed that in before? Ugh. Go back in here. Okay, here it is. I'm just going to install Empire at War. I'm not going to install the entire series. I just want to install the game and show you that we can get this working. This is one that I could not get working in the past, but I did get it working about a month or so ago, and I found that it worked out pretty good. So let's go ahead and run that. I'll move this over here. And I will go ahead and pause this install. I'm just going to follow the regular motions and that sort of thing. But it's going to ask for my serial key. I can't give you my serial key. Sorry, folks. So let me pause the video. I will install this, and then we'll try and run it. Okay. Now, the launcher that this installer put on the desktop does not work. It actually wants to launch the... let me go ahead and pull this folder up if it'll let me here. I'll move this down here. What it points to is the launch EAW-EXE, and in order to get this game running under Wine, you need to go into the game data folder and then launch the SWEAW.exe file, and it will work. Now, I also installed a no CD patch. This will allow me to play the game. Now, one thing to note, there are a few minor bugs in this. If you go to change your screen resolution or you go and change some settings, you're going to have some funny looking little artifacts appear in the game. But once you restart the game, everything will work pretty well. I've had good experience with this. I've played a few levels and I found this to be quite entertaining. Now, it does look a little bit choppy right now, but that's because I have all my desktop effects and everything working. But the thing is, I was able to get this game working, and I've had quite a little bit of fun with it. So definitely try different games and that sort of thing. I'm going to go ahead and exit this for the time being. Most of my Wine games I like to play in full screen. So there are a number of things that you could try. I had really good success though with installing. We go into my games folder here. I'm still trying to get my X series games working. They're not working properly, but eventually they will. But everything else that you see here, Empire War, Freelancer, Gabriel Knight, Homeworld 2, Neverwinter Nights, I wasn't able to get that to run in Wine, but it runs beautifully in a virtual machine, Wing Commander 3. And so I have a number of games here that work. Even Dragon Shard worked well in Wine as well. So experimentation is key. Also, you may find that going on winehq.com may give you some pointers and some different things that you can do. For instance, you could actually go into your libraries and they may have some instructions to change some of the overrides and that sort of thing. Instead of changing it to only native, you could have it go built-in, then native, native, then built-in, disabled, that sort of thing. So there are other options that you can try to see if you can get these games working. Also, anytime a game wants to install its version of DirectX, or if it wants to install VB runtimes, that sort of thing, go ahead and let them install. So there are a number of things you can try to get these games working. Now, Wine is continuously being updated. If you're running the latest development releases, they come out with a new version every 2 weeks. Something to note, though, is that a game that ran in let's say you got a game running and then you downloaded an update and it's no longer running, that is called a regression. And it's best to report those bugs so that the developers of Wine can fix that issue in the next release, so that those games can continue working, because they actually don't have Windows source to work with. So anything that you can, point out to them, you could say, okay, I had game X working in version 1.3.33, but now it doesn't work in 1.3.34. And so this is something that they can take a look at to fix those problems. If you thought this was useful, please hit like and subscribe. Also catch me on Facebook and Twitter. Visit my blog and shout me a coffee. I need more caffeine! Yeah! And be sure to tell your friends. I've got a lot more stuff headed your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.